everybody! We're back in the garden! Yay! Today I thought it would be cool to kind of take you guys through the garden to see what's happening in the garden, and we can practice those 3 things from last week. The I notice, I wonder, and it reminds me of. We can do that in the garden too. So 3 things for I notice, 3 observations that we make using our senses. 3 things for I wonder, 3 questions we have about what's going on in the garden. And then 3 things for this reminds me of, 3 connections that we make with something we already know or something that we're familiar with in the garden. So let's take a walk around and I'll show you some of the stuff that's happening. This is where I was just standing in front of the pomegranate tree, and you can see the pomegranates are getting big. Some of them are even starting to split open. Look at that. That means they're pretty much ready. Here's a nice big one. Woo, check it out. That's a nice big pomegranate. So a lot of the fruit, the fall fruit, is starting to ripen. The other thing we have is persimmons, and you can see over here, look, something has been eating the persimmons. What do you think it was? But there's still some on the tree. There's one right there. That one's not quite ready yet. One right there. That one's not ready yet either. There's one over here. When they're not ready, persimmons are really astringent. They have a really bad flavor that makes your mouth feel all puckery and dry inside. But that one's getting there. When they're ripe, they're really yummy. Here's some more. A bunch of persimmons. Now this is a different kind of persimmon. These are the kind that you can eat hard. These are called fuyu persimmons. You can eat them hard like an apple. These ones are hachia. So look at how different they look. They're like long and skinny, and those are a lot farther away from being ready to eat. We also have some of your favorite fruit over here. Look at the pineapple guavas. There's a nice big one up there. So these are getting ripe. There's a lot that have fallen on the ground. There's a nice one right there. So there's pineapple guavas. Look, there's a little bird up there. I wonder what it's doing in the pineapple guava. What are you doing in the pineapple guava? You're not eating them, are you? And over here, we have another kind of guava. This is a new tree that I planted. This little guy. And look, they're starting to turn yellow. Look at all these guavas. Yeah, this is what's called a yellow lemon guava. And the guavas are just little. They don't get much bigger than that, and then they turn yellow. And you can just eat them whole. They're really yummy. So over here on the lupin bush, we have a whole bunch of caterpillars. Do you see those guys? They're yellow with these like white and black spots, and they look really hairy or spiny or something. There's some more. I don't know if you can see them. Right back here. And there's a whole bunch of them all over the lupin bush. I have no idea what they are gonna turn into. Some kind of butterfly. We'll have to wait and see. And over here, I just wanted to show you this guy. Look at him. Hi, grasshopper. Here is our big maple tree in the garden. And the leaves are turning colors. You see all the colors in there? I see red, yellow. And here are some that I found on the ground that had fallen. That one's nice. That one has a lot of yellow. Ooh, that one has red. And more red. And more red. Look at those pretty leaves. Aren't they neat? This guy is a katydid on the dahlia. Look at that puddle right there. You're eating my dahlias. And this is one of my favorite kind of spiders. It's a yellow crab spider. It sits on the flowers and waits for things to come, and then it grabs them and eats them. I've also planted some cool weather crops. So in this bed, these guys are fava beans, and you can eat the beans, but they're also really good for the soil. They bring nitrogen back into the soil because they're from the legume family. Over here we also have some other stuff. I planted some radishes. They're kind of getting munched on, but hopefully some of them will make it. And I've got some peas growing. I'm covering them with the flats so that the birds won't eat them, because birds love pea shoots. And then I have some beets in there too. We'll see if we get any beets. And there's a kale over there. I have some other things, broccoli, cauliflower, that kind of stuff. Here we go with the broccoli and cauliflower. Again, I've got it covered up with this wire so that the birds won't eat it, because they love to eat these little tender shoots. Ooh, the other thing we should check on is our rotting pumpkin in the compost bin. Let's come take a look and see how it's doing over here. Oh yeah, there it is. Whoa, it's all covered with mold. I don't know if you guys can see the fruit flies buzzing around. That's gross. It's decomposing. We'll check on it again next week and see what it looks like in 7 more days. All right, so I'm gonna kind of do a recap with our 3 things right now. So 3 things that I noticed, or 3 observations that I had, was number 1, a lot of the leaves are turning color and falling off the trees. You can see on the plums right there, they don't have very many leaves left. The maple tree looks pretty yellow. And then right over here along the fence, you can see, look at the grapevines. They're nice and red. So that's my first observation. My second observation is that a lot of the fruit is getting ripe. Pomegranates and the persimmons, pineapple guavas. And then my third observation would be all of the animals in the garden. We saw quite a few animals right now. So now the 3 things that I wonder why that little bird was in the pineapple guava. I want to know what it's doing. I don't think it's eating pineapple guavas. What is it doing? I also want to know what kind of caterpillars those are in the lupin bush. What are they going to turn into? And also about those caterpillars, I'm wondering, are they going to be able to make it through the winter? Because it's getting cold, and usually insects, they don't like the cold. They find places to hide over the winter time, and they don't really do much. So that's one thing I'm curious about. I wonder what's going to happen to the caterpillars over the winter time. One more question I have is, who is eating my persimmons? Look, I found another one underneath the celery, and they're not eating the skin. They're eating the inside, and they're leaving the peels. I want to know who's doing that. All right, so last week, guys, I asked you, why do plants want to disperse their seeds? Remember, we talked about the 4 different types of seed dispersal. There were hitchhiker seeds, wind-blown seeds, edible seeds, and exploding seeds. And then I said, why do you think plants would want to spread their seeds out? So take a look at these guys. And these seeds were not spread out. They are very close together. And see how some of them, like this one right here, some of these little sprouts are bigger than others, like that one right there. So what do you think is going to happen to these little plants as they grow? Do you think they're all going to be able to grow up into big, healthy, strong plants? Or do you think that only some of them are? See how crowded they are? There's so many so close together, and they're still so little. So when they're starting to get bigger, the bigger ones are kind of taking over from the little ones. See, there's some bigger ones that are blocking out the little ones underneath. That's called competition. So these sprouts, even though they're the same kind of seed, they're from the same plant, they're competing with each other for resources, for space, for water, for sunlight, for nutrients in the soil. And so they're not all going to be able to thrive and grow because they're too close together. So that is exactly why plants want their seeds to be dispersed so that the seeds have a better chance of growing and becoming a mature plant to create more seeds. Guys, look, our seeds are sprouting, guys. These are the seeds that I planted for the experiment, Do Plants Eat Soil? So there they are. Well, it was one seed, but it has two sides, and so each side is coming up with a little sprout. So we're gonna take care of it and watch it grow, and when it's a big plant, we'll measure the soil again, okay? Okay, last thing for today. We talked about 3 observations I noticed, 3 things that I noticed in the garden. We talked about 3 questions, 3 things I was wondering about in the garden. Actually, I had 4 things. The more you have, the better, right? But we didn't talk about any connections. So what I want you guys to do is, if there's somebody you could FaceTime with, or you could call up on the phone from the class that you can talk about connections with, that's what I want you to do. I want you to call up your friend, talk to your friend, and say, is there something in the garden that reminded you of something else? 3 things that reminded you of something. 3 connections you made with something you already know or something you're familiar with. And then what I would like for you to do this next week is to go for a walk sometime. You could go in a park, you could go behind Simpkins, there's some great trails back there, Arana Gulch. Just go for a walk out in nature and practice these 3 things. Practice making observations, I notice. Practice asking questions, I wonder, and then practice making connections. It reminds me of when you're out in nature walking around. And the best way to do this is if you have somebody you can go with that you can talk about these things to. So you can be walking along and you can say, oh, look, I noticed a squirrel up in that tree. I wonder what it's eating. There's 2 things, an observation and a question. And it helps if you have somebody to talk to. So that's what I really want you guys to do for this next week. All right, have fun. I'll talk to you later. Bye.